The Teeming Universe, an extraterrestrial field guide. What would you do if you were dropped off in an irradiated hellscape surrounded by carnivorous kites who wanted to bite perfect circular holes in you? Patrick, my boy, what have they done to you? Those machines that entirely occupy that otherwise uninhabited planet over there that used to have liquid water and are surrounded by fossils and thinking about expanding, should we be concerned? All this and more on In the Teeming Universe. If you haven't seen my first video on the Teeming Universe, you should definitely go watch it. It explains the concept of the book and also covers the life inhabiting two alien worlds, Craelon and Calice. The Teeming Universe is a field guide to a myriad of extraterrestrial planets containing multitudes of strange alien species in the known universe. We know about these worlds because of one artist, Christian Cline. They're a great artist, and I'll be linking to their pages in the description. Without further ado, let's take a look at some of the worlds detailed in these pages. Welcome to the world of Borold, a tidally locked super-Earth tightly orbiting a red dwarf star. It's just under 3 times the fatness of Earth, so it has a much higher gravity. Because this world is tidally locked, it has a light side and a dark side. Although there is an area in the middle that's the closest to what we could consider an Earth-like environment. Even though it has close to the same amount of water as Earth, a large portion of Borold's water is trapped in a thick layer of permafrost. Life on Borold usually has 2 infrared sensory receptors that take the form of cold, soulless black dots on their heads. They can see in the visible spectrum, but 70 to 100% of what they can sense is in the infrared spectrum. The red dwarf often releases deadly solar flares, and many of these creatures are adapted to detect these flares to hide from them. Is a little baby afraid of a little radiation? Say what you want about humans, at least they still buy the cancer sticks. This is the Borold star. It looks like Patrick's star was dipped in a vat of acid just enough to remove the top layer of skin and any lovable or recognizable features. So basically just Patrick after the reboots. It can grow up to 30 feet long, and spends its days sliding around on the surface with thousands of tiny muscular feet looking for small animals to digest. Like most life on Borold, this creature has 7 limbs. Although on the Borold star, the 7th limb is a serrated egg arm that is only used to break out of the egg it hatched from. Unlike humans, the egg arm does not fall off after hatching. Although, like morbidly obese humans, Borold stars reproduce sexually by slowly sliding their flabby bodies over each other. They're hermaphrodites, so they both get pregnant. Everybody wins, or loses, depending on how you look at it. Borold stars don't look after their young. Nymphs are aquatic and a lot more mobile, eating aquatic animals for a few months before going to the sedentary lifestyle of their parents. Staple folds in the Borold star diet include dead flesh, injured animals, and sometimes even Arby's. The star's metabolism is quite slow, and it's able to go 8 weeks without food. Riding the ever-present winds of Borolds are the Borold Kites. These are the Borold equivalent to vultures, flying carnivores that both actively hunt and scavenge dead creatures. Their 2 forward-facing receptors give them superior depth perception and focus, and all of their 7 limbs function in unison to allow them to fly like a kite. They have a wide jawless mouth and hundreds of tiny teeth for use in flesh mastication and extreme BDSM. They mostly feed on dead Borold stars until they're disturbed or full, and then they spread their wings and glide away on the wind. Another predator of the Borold star is the Borold saucer, which is kind of like a sarlacc pit. It waits until something crawls over it and shoots out 7 sharp iron spines, stabbing the victim and pulling it to the center to tear out and consume chunks of its flesh bit by bit. Unlike most of the worlds in this guide, the planet of Craelon is seemingly devoid of life. Well, biological life, that is. Craelon is a cold, roughly Earth-sized planet theorized to formerly have copious reserves of liquid water on the surface. It looks as if some unknown cataclysmic event turned the planet from lush to uninhabitable. Whatever happened, the way it ended left the world untenable for most biological life, and it left Craelon feeling unwanted and very self-conscious about its body and personality like many people after their relationships. Many of the planets in Craelon's system look as if they've been meticulously mined for resources by alien machines. Like most planets in this system, its surface is dotted with large carved holes, not craters, carved holes. The southern hemisphere is encompassed by a planet-wide ring that of course wouldn't have happened naturally. The only inhabitants of this planet are technological in nature, and there is no organic multicellular life on Craelon. Much of Craelon's lower surface is covered in machinery due to these mysterious entities. We've named these machines the Crael. They're possibly millions of years old artificial intelligences that are far beyond human technological and intellectual advancement. No one knows who built them, but there is single-celled life and fossils on Craelon. So maybe either someone built them and they went off into space, or someone built them with loosely programmed guidelines and then gave it access to the internet, and then we had to stop watching the AI horror movie because Amoeba got too scared. The Crael are preparing for mass expansion of their numbers, which sounds ominous as hell. If there was ever a thing to be worried about, it's this. They're creating millions of mining ships to harvest planets and moons for raw materials. Each planet in their solar system has been or is being mined out. Many areas on Craelon are devoted to solar power for mining as well, and at night it glows a brilliant blue. They're able to travel at superliminal speeds, aka above the speed of light, aka that one thing that even very smart wheelchair robot man, God rest his soul, maybe he shouldn't have tried so hard to disprove God says you can't do. So yeah, they're kind of a big deal. The largest Crael machine in the Gravitalesque army is the Archship. 20-mile-long trapezoidal ships with the pointy end facing towards the planet. The tip beams out directions and signals for hundreds of thousands of drones on the surface. There are millions of these dotted along the planet. They're made out of something dubbed Craelium, and while it's partially made out of materials known to man, it displays properties never before seen in a known substance. The material easily conducts heat, spontaneously changes opacity/reflectivity, magnetic charge, shape, and possesses unparalleled tensile strength. They've been hit by an asteroid without so much as a piece chipping off. An Archship needs less than a gram of Craelium to store terabytes of data. Can you imagine how many Rubik's Cubes I could solve with that kind of brain? Because I bet if I had that kind of brain, I would be able to imagine exactly how many Rubik's Cubes I would be able to solve if I had that brain. Anyways, the Archships are the big boys in charge, running the show down below. The machines on the surface mine materials and then pack it into cargo ships, which get shot into the Archship, which turns them into solar panels, which launches them into space to provide energy for the system to keep going. Even the advanced machines are in endless nonsensical rat races that only serve to prolong themselves by another meaningless second in each iteration. When not in a current function, Craelium acts as a standard model, gel-like machines that wait on standby to go with any task they are directed to. They change shape and function into, among other things, mining vessels, vibrating phalluses, and solar panels. One version is a scout, and they go out and, scout. So if you see them, you're fucked. To find out what an additional episode in this series would be about, we're gonna go back to our Yetuan correspondent, Yeet.
Thanks, Saz. Hope the humans haven't noticed the hilarious world-ending prank yet. Another episode would cover the other corners of the universe filled with strange alien life, as well as maybe the history of my great species. I'd like and subscribe with all notifications to see that. Coming up on Earthwatch tonight at 11, everyone in politics is still sexually harassing and screaming over each other to see who gets to make the next bad decision, and I promise I'll finish the script when I'm sober. Greg, you are fired.
Thanks, Yeet. I want to thank my friend and the very talented author of Teeming Universe, Christian Cline, for getting in contact with me and providing assets for the creation of these videos. I loved his book, and you should definitely go check out all of his stuff because he's super talented, and if you don't, you're honestly missing out. I also want to thank Coralinius for helping with the illustration of this episode. He's super talented. I'll be linking his work as well, and if you don't check him out, you are also equally missing out. You just go look at my friends, please. Jeez, I made a whole video for you. Fuck. Anyways, if you like this, you want to see another installment, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all notifications made. Well, okay, bye.
We could just go out with my camera and I could frame up solo shots of you and you could frame up solo shots of me,